Some more unbelievably ridiculous oligarchy news. So you know that Fourth Amendment is gone, right? You know that you're supposed to have the government's not supposed to be able to have illegal search and seizures. They're not supposed to be able to look at your pay without a warrant. People can't come to your house. They can't go through your papers. They can't. You're supposed to have privacy in the United States. Well, that's gone because of 9/11, right? So they got rid of that Patriot Act. We live in a surveillance state, and now they had Wyden, Representative Wyden, well, here's what happened. The Senate votes to allow the FBI to access your browsing history without a warrant. What the fuck? That's just unconstitutional. That's supposed to be like, no. You know, like, hey, we don't have slavery anymore. We don't also have illegal search and seizures. Would have warrantless. The U.S. Senate yesterday voted by a single vote to allow government agencies like the FBI and the CIA to access your browsing history without a warrant. These criminal MFers who you just saw lie left and right, up and down, and try to pull off a coup in the United States. They're all liars. They're all from James Comey to Peter Strzok to McCabe, Andrew McCabe. They're all lying liars, criminals. The people who work at the FBI and in the upper, they're all criminals. They're fascist criminals, and they don't give a shit about you or the Constitution. You see what they did to General Flynn? That's what they did to a general. Imagine what they'll do to you. Oh, look what they did to the president of the United States, who they felt wasn't doing their bidding. Look what they did. And now the FBI, those same people, and these guys can now warrantlessly violate your privacy. Why is that important? Well, because right now we're in an age when we're going to need to have strikes and direct action and create social crisis to take our government back and get things done for the people. And right now, the FBI is going to be surveilling you. And so if you are a strike leader, they're going to know who you are. They're going to go to your browsing history. They're going to compromise you just like they did to Martin Luther King. They're going to plant kiddie porn on your computer, even if it's not there. And whatever is there, they're going to use to completely try to humiliate, embarrass you, and control you. Bill Binney said that Bill Binney, the NSA's number one code breaker and whistleblower, said that is how they control people in the United States, meaning the intelligence community. That's how they control people. They get compromising information on you. That's what everyone thought was afraid Russia had on Donald Trump. They've got compromat. They've got compromising information on you. Well, that's what the FBI and the CIA has right in the United States on everybody. We live in the country I used to be told as a kid that Russia was. The Soviet Union was this oppressive fascist regime, and there was no privacy, and everyone was encouraged to rat each other out to the state. That's what we live in the United States. That's what this is right now. Surveillance state, no rights, government. You have no habeas corpus. Government can throw you in jail without a charge forever. This means they would not need to show probable cause for believing you have committed a crime before requiring your ISP to hand over its records on your web browsing and search histories. So they don't have to show any evidence. They just have to call your cable company and say, I want Jimmy Dore's browsing history. Send it over. The privacy preserving amendment fell short by a single vote. Wait till you find out whose single vote that was. It's going to be a crusher. I think you already know. I think I probably already tipped it. And it would have voted, after several senators who would have voted yes, failed to show up to the session, including Bernard Sanders. Bernie Sanders is selling you out at a nuclear speed. It is at light speed. He is selling you out left and right, all the while tweeting very strong things. What a complete joke Bernie Sanders has turned into. He's a joke. 9 Democratic senators also voted no, causing the amendment to fall short of the 60-vote threshold it needed to pass. Bernie Sanders couldn't be bothered to show up. What's his reason? They haven't given one yet, as far as I know. Can you go to his Twitter feed stuff?
Yep.
See if Bernie Sanders has tweeted why he didn't show up to vote for this? It's because he was told, I'm going to guess he was told not to show up. The Senate is being asked to reauthorize the Patriot Act, which gives government agencies power to carry out mass electronic surveillance of U.S. citizens. Unconstitutional. They forgot to put that part in. Mass unconstitutional electronic surveillance of U.S. of citizens. 3 amendments were put forward, one of which would have prevented accessing web browsing history without a warrant. Senator Ron Wyden and Steve Daines, a Republican of Montana, were trying to install privacy protections into the Patriot Act, but the amendment failed to pass by a single vote. The vote comes at a time when internet usage has skyrocketed because now everybody's home, with tens of millions of Americans quarantined at home during the COVID-19 pandemic. Privacy advocates have warned for over a decade that allowing warrantless access to web search queries and browsing histories allows law enforcement to easily crack down on activists, labor organizers, or anyone else the government deems a threat. So, like the people who are organizing at DAPL or the people organizing against the Keystone Pipeline or Occupy Wall Street or any of that shit.
Bernie tweeted about, we must do everything possible to develop a vaccine for the coronavirus yesterday.
Yeah.
Retweeted Joe Biden about the task force.
Yeah.
Tweeted about the Democratic Party must stand up to the powerful special interests.
Jesus Christ.
Bernie also said we cannot continue to tie health insurance coverage to your
It's like
employment,
a comedy.
Medicare for all.
I couldn't write comedy funnier
And
than
then
his
last
fucking
night-
timeline. I could not what?
To tune in to Saving Our Planet.
He's a fucking joke. Bernie Sanders is a straight up clown. Fucking straight. I'm a professional clown. Bernie Sanders is a straight up clown. That's his timeline. Fucking, here it is. Here's I know you can't see that. Maybe it's too small. But at the bottom, it lists all the senators who didn't show up to vote. And it's Alexander from Tennessee, Murray Democrat from Washington, Senator Sanders from Vermont, and Sassy from New England. Nebraska, sorry. So Sanders, it says they still list him. You can't see this, but it lists him as an independent. He's not an independent.
No, you can't be an independent when you're lockstep with
No.
Democratic leadership.
He's not only in lockstep, he's working for them and against you. So Bernie Sanders went from being the organizer-in-chief to being the guy who working for the Democratic Party against you. I'm not making that up. That's not hyperbole. He's working against you. He's gaslighting you. He's keeping you placated. He's telling you about task forces that are frickin' double CK. Bernie Sanders is there to keep you quiet. And it's working, isn't it? It's not working on fucking me anymore, I'll tell you that.
So Warren voted yes or above?
Elizabeth Warren?
Yeah, so we have the nays at 37, but
So-
right above, it says Wyden Warren on the second column.
So the yays are there. These are the good people. The yays are
Warren.
So Elizabeth Warren voted for it?
Yeah, it looks like Wyden on the bottom and then Warren.
Okay. Yeah, there it is. Van Hollen, Udall, Tester, Stabenow, Smith, Sinema, Schumer voted for it. So, and then here's the people who voted against it. You want to know the Democrats who voted against it?
Even Klobuchar voted
for it. So now here, and then it got 59 votes. It needed one more to pass. Bernie Sanders didn't show up. And so, how did Kamala Harris vote on this?
I can't.
She voted for it. So, and you go, wow, that's really good, right? Well, here's another thing you have to remember. Now, Bernie Sanders didn't show up to vote for this. Still don't know why. Hasn't told anybody. I'm going to guess he was ordered to not show up. Because here's how it would have worked. Had he showed up, they would have found another Democrat to vote against it. Right? Because that's how this works. You know that. They always find just enough Democrats to pass, to deregulate Wall Street, just enough Democrats to get the horrible judges on just enough Democrat. They always. So what Bernie Sanders is supposed to do in that situation is show up, vote for it, and call them out for this and say exactly what I'm saying right now. He's supposed to say, this is the problem. They're always going to find just enough Democrats to kill this. That's the problem. Today it was Carper from Delaware. It was Casey from Pennsylvania. It was Feinstein from California voted to take away your constitutional rights and give them to the FBI.
Well, they set her straight on that.
Yeah. It was let's see, where are the Democrats? It was Manchin. It was Tim Kaine. There's your former vice presidential nominee for the Democratic Party voting with the FBI and the CIA and Trump. So is Feinstein. So these people are fascists. That's who the Democratic vice presidential nominee last time is a fascist, Tim Kaine, anti-worker fascist, and a criminal. So that's how they would have got one more. They would have got one of the Democrats to jump if Bernie would have showed up. Bernie still should have showed up, and he still should call it out and tell you exactly what's happening. Bernie didn't show up. Bernie's not going to call it out. Bernie is working against you right now. I know that sounds funny. He's working against you. How so? He's trying to placate you. His first job was to stop the formation of a third party in the last 4 years. He did that. The second thing is he's trying to get you sheep herded into the Democratic Party. He did that. And now he's trying to get everybody to be calmed down until the election. Don't start a third party. Don't go with Movement for a People's Party. Our revolution, they're voting to leave the Democratic Party. That's the organization Bernie set up. Our revolution, they're voting to leave in droves. Bernie Sanders still wants you to vote for Joe Biden. He just got AOC and John Kerry on their climate change task force to gaslight you. That's gaslighting. AOC is fully indoctrinated. She's a Democrat. She's not a Justice Democrat. AOC is a Democrat. And every Justice Democrat is also a Democrat. Katie Halper is a Democrat. She supports Nancy Pelosi, and she supported the screwing of you. So whatever Katie Halper has done, not Katie Halper, why am I...
Porter.
Katie Porter. And that fucking Katie Halper also.
Don't get me started
Don't
on
get me
Halper.
started on Halper.
Such big fans of Katie Halpers.
I'm talking Katie Porter. I know everybody. There's no heroes. There are no fucking heroes.
Katie Porter's mentor.
Katie Porter is going to stand up when it's easy to stand up, and she's going to stand down when she's told to stand down. Katie Porter is a willing servant of Nancy Pelosi and the Democratic Party, just like AOC, just like they all are.
The lesson here is, everybody, that don't act like these people are your heroes. Don't get committed like you're in an emotional relationship with Katie Porter, or you're going to, at some point, we're learning this the hard way. You're going to be disappointed, when I understand that one of her mentors is Elizabeth Warren. And we've seen how Elizabeth has vacillated back and forth on her platform and policies. So what I'm committed to are the policies. That's what I invite you to be committed to, are the policies.
So you know what Bernie Sanders was doing last night instead of going to D.C. and voting?
Well, didn't he have a big event he had to do?
Yeah, he had a Saving Our Planet.
Yeah.
He had Bill McKibben on and Governor Jay Inslee, David Wallace Wells. Got a strong jaw. Yeah. Varshini Prakash. She was on. I don't know who that is. So he's hosting. So now he hosts a late night talk show. That's Bernie's job. He can't be bothered to show up to vote for you, the motherfucker. He can't be even bothered to tweet about it. He didn't even raise awareness that this was happening. And you know why? Because Bernie Sanders was told not to raise awareness by the Democratic Party, and Bernie Sanders is a good little boy who's working against you. He's a good little boy. Bernie Sanders is following whatever Chuck Schumer tells him to do because Bernie Sanders is a feckless, spineless fucking coward. And he does bullshit instead of helping you. And that's a fact. That's a fact. I know people still saying, I love Bernie. I don't fucking love Bernie. Bernie sold me out. And he sold you out. And so fuck him.
Jimmy, I think you should remember that Joe Biden is Bernie Sanders' real good friend.
He's a great, decent guy.
You need to remember that Bernie Sanders' best friend is Biden.
So people still say that. People still say, and I love Bernie. Why the fuck do you love Bernie? He doesn't love you. He loves Chuck Schumer, the Democratic Party, and fuck you. He's gaslighting you right now with these task forces. AOC is joining in on it. They're all gaslighting you. They're all bullshitters for the establishment. And so 4 years ago, I started saying Hillary Clinton has to come get your vote. She doesn't own your vote, and you don't owe it to her. I was roundly criticized for saying that, and now almost any lefty person who wants to have any kind of street cred is saying that today. Took 4 fucking years, and now they're all. And I was saying we needed a third party back then, and that's why I voted third party. And now everybody is like, "Hey, I think we need a third party." This boarding the ship and taking over the Democratic Party doesn't seem to be fucking working, does it? And people who are telling you that that's working are unbelievably wrong and have horrible political instincts. Look at them. Go look at their record of political instincts. What kind of a person pledges their vote to a politician before an election and then thinks they're going to move them after? Someone who doesn't understand politics, has horrible political instincts, or is on purpose being paid to gaslight you. Those are your 3 options. Anybody who pledges their vote to a politician before an election without extracting a concession, it has horrible political instincts, doesn't understand how politics works, is a willing tool, or worse, is being paid to gaslight you. Those are your options. And anybody who doesn't see this and then goes to Bernie Sanders' Twitter feed and he doesn't even fucking mention it, Bernie Sanders doesn't conclude Bernie Sanders is working for the Democratic Party against you. And who does the Democratic Party work for? They work for the oligarchs. They are the oligarchy. It's an ironic twist what Bernie Sanders is doing right now, but he's doing it. He tweeted out a stupid fucking his late night talk show, which is what he's turned into now. He's a talk show host because he doesn't give a shit about getting any results whatsoever or standing up to the powerful. He's not. And I still see people say, now finally people on the left are finally critiquing and criticizing Bernie Sanders' horribleness because he's fucking horrible. But they still add the caveat, I love him. The fuck? You're a battered wife. You're a fucking battered wife. How many times does Bernie have to sell you out? He sold you out. It's a fact. He sold you out in 2016. Before we ever even got to that convention, he had a secret deal with Hillary Clinton to sell out his own fucking delegates. And he did it. And you still love that guy? You're a chump. You're a battered wife.
I mean, Jimmy, when you sit and you think about the experience we've had growing up and who we voted for, like maybe in the 80s, you know what I mean? Like, to think that I ever liked Bill Clinton.
I know, in the 90s and was Bill Clinton.
Right?
I know.
I mean, it's horrifying.
Yeah.
And then we saw Bernie in 2016 as this real leader that was going to guide us to a better future.
Right.
And then now we stayed in this party that is so toxic. You can't help but look at it continually as we had Obama that was this sweet talker that told me he was going to put a soft shoe on and walk with the teachers. And what happened? He ended up walking into Flint and sipping the water and saying everything was okay.
Yep. Hey, this is the part where I tell you where our live shows are, but there aren't any. And then I would tell you to go join our premium, but nobody has a fucking job. So why don't you just enjoy the video?